My first guest is Shahan. We co-hosted an event recently called The Future of Blockchain.
Right.
That was a ton of fun, right? It was wild. So introduce yourself. Imagine you're right here in this camera. So introduce yourself and tell people who you are, please.
Great. Thank you, Ian. It's a pleasure to be here. I was at the Future of Blockchain event, which was my favorite event. This seems like it's going to top it. So excited.
I hope so.
So I'm Shahan. I'm the founder of Khosh. I'm a startup advisor, and I also work with different VCs and enterprise companies to really help emerging technologies be adopted. It's a very difficult problem, like voice, like AI, like blockchain. It's very difficult to get these different solutions out to market. Yeah. So you need a really great group of people around you. You need a really great set of advisors around you, and that's really the solutions that I provide for my customers.
Yeah. You and I have talked a little bit about comedy, right?
Yeah.
So why do you think there's a huge surge of comedians and podcasts? Because people, they talk a lot about being in the car, and they no longer are listening to the radio or listening just to Spotify, like music, or they're certainly not playing CDs or cassettes. There's the rare person that has the vinyl player in their car, but most people are absorbing content through podcasts, and we've talked about comedy. Why don't you touch on that for a moment, please?
Sure. Yeah. So if we back it up for a second, if you remember like Johnny Carson, when comedians used to go on, he used to give the thumbs up, right? If it was a good comedian. And every comedian's, their goal was to get onto Johnny Carson. However, now they have all these new technology platforms. Joe Rogan's the best at doing this. He's the best in the business. Where now I don't need my attention to be at every show, and I'm not known in these shows, so they're not buying my ticket. I need to find another platform to get engagement. You see Joe Rogan, you see The Fighter and the Kid with Brendan Schwab and Brian Callen, you see Theo Vaughn, you see Andrew Santino. All these different podcasts are allowing these comedians to have a voice before people know who they are. And what they're doing is there's a network of podcasts folks like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn, all these that work with each other on each other's voice platforms in order to push out their comedy and their brand. And now they're just selling out tickets all over the place. They're getting Netflix special, and they're getting in the homes, the cars, the phones of people all over the world.
Yep. So voice tech in the cars. What other type of emerging technologies do you think about in kind of alignment with this development?
Yeah, so there's nothing that's a perfect fit in terms of a comparison, but I often think of like blockchain. I was very involved in blockchain and AI. Usability is a big problem. Like, how do you build these platforms? What tools are you using? How do you push them out there? Which devices are you pushing them out on? You push it on one and not the other? Are there standards? So the problem, I think, with this and other emerging technologies, and really why I started Khosh, was it's very difficult, right? It's very difficult to get yourself out to market, and you need a good set of people around you in order to do that. So I think with emerging tech, it's first starting with education. Enable yourself, read up on what you can, know what the thought leaders are saying, read those different reports, and then find good people around you to help take this out to market.
Yep. Tell me about the future. You're driving in your car, even better, it's driving you 3 years, 10 years from now. What type of interaction would you long to have because of how voice technology has empowered that new productivity machine, not just a transportation device, but a productivity machine that you get inside, you can actually be productive. Like, what is the future? What do you long for in the near future?
So like you, Ian, I'm on the road all the time. Right? So if I could, through my car, interact with devices in my life or people in my life, that would be ideal. If that's another hub, for example, from my car, I could say, order me some food. I want Grubhub when I get home. I want a pizza waiting for me when I get home. Also through my car, get my wife some flowers because, that'll be waiting, at the home as well. Interacting with the car or sending myself reminders or whatnot. Another hub for the car, similar to some of the stuff you're doing with your phone, but taking it to the next step further where all these machines are talking to each other, and it improves the productivity and the quality of life.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? We're obviously we have a short conversation. I wish we had hours like we've had before, but I'm so glad I could bring you for this moment. Final thoughts on voice tech. Like when you think about voicefirst.tv and all the content that my team and I are going to create, like what are kind of your final thoughts, the state of the union as you see voice tech, and if you tie it into the car, that's great.
I think the key for the success of voice is user adoption.
Yeah.
I think everything should be surrounded on how do we get people to use this, Because if you're creating this great tech in a box, similar to many other great technologies, like VR is going through this AR, it's a difficult process that they're going through. Usability, a killer use case, a killer app is really what you need to do. And I think all throughout the way, educate yourself as much as possible so that you could be that much more of a thought leader.
Yeah, it's great.
So, thank you so much, Ian.
I'm so glad that you came. How do people get a hold of you? How do they find you?
Yeah, so you can get a hold of me. Look me up on LinkedIn at Shahan Khoshafian. That's tough. So on Twitter, it's ShahanKhosh. Shahan Khosh. So you can follow me there. Really excited for the rest of the day. Thank you, Ian.
Me too. Well.